for the Toronto Tempo. That's right, the expansion franchise. I'm still baffled that the New York Liberty moved on from her. And I still don't love the fact that the Indiana Fever didn't snatch her up. Oh, but Stephanie White. Oh, but nothing. If you listen to how this lady has spoken about the most valuable asset that this league has, which is Caitlin Clark, I would think if you were a Caitlin Clark fan, this would have been your number one contender to have come coached Caitlin Clark. And we're also...
So Sandy Brondello actually did it. She turned down more money than any WNBA coach has ever been paid. Can you believe that? She said no to big-name teams like the Dallas Wings and Seattle Storm. Instead, she chose to lead the new Toronto Tempo expansion squad. The whole WNBA was just completely floored by this. Everyone thought she was a lock for Dallas to coach Paige Bueckers. But nope, she picked an unknown path, giving up what could have been a massive, historic payday. Her decision really sent shockwaves through the league, leaving everyone wondering what in the world happened. This wasn't just a coaching move, it was a huge statement.
So Sandy Brondello is the former coach of the New York Liberty, who is the current coach of the Toronto Tempo. Obviously, she's someone that was very much expected to be coaching the Dallas Wings. Everyone thought she was going to be coaching Dallas Wings, coaching Paige Bueckers, and apparently she turned down more money, and from what I've been reading, I think she turned down the most money. As in, she turned down the most money a WNBA coach has ever been paid to not coach the Dallas Wings.
And get this, the whole move was surrounded by controversy, especially after the New York Liberty surprisingly let Brondello go back in September. A lot of people around the league were just stunned, particularly when the Indiana Fever didn't snap her up. I mean, Brondello had talked so passionately about Caitlin Clark, who's basically the league's biggest star right now. She really seemed like the perfect coach for the Fever, especially to all the Clark fans out there. For them, it felt like a huge missed opportunity, a baffling mistake that made them question Indiana's whole strategy. The Caitlin Clark effect, that should have pulled her right in, no doubt.
Because there's also going to be, collateral things and benefits that come off playing with the Indiana Fever. Again, you're playing for the Dallas Cowboys of the WNBA, right? The far and away the most popular team. A lot of extra eyes on you, yada, yada, yada. Let's look at this first, because I found this to be interesting, because she had job offers from 2 other clubs, talking about Sandy. After shockingly parting ways with the Liberty back in September, Sandy Brondello was named the coach of the WNBA expansion Toronto.
But here's the thing. Reports came out that Brondello actually got offers from at least 2 other WNBA teams, Dallas and Seattle. And get this, one of those teams put a financial package on the table that was way, way higher than what Toronto ended up offering. Now, we don't know the exact numbers, but people are saying she turned down well over $1 million. That's a ton of money for a WNBA coaching job. This wasn't just a little pay cut, it was a conscious choice to walk away from what could have been generational wealth. So her explanation for all of this became even more important.
The most money. As in, she turned down the most money a WNBA coach has ever been paid to not coach the Dallas Wings. To not coach Paige Bueckers. And I get it. The organization is a big factor as well. But I'm sorry. Money talks, and also look, there are bad organizations where you're you know what? Yeah, this may not be the greatest organization in the world, but we're gonna win. And it's rare.
So, what did Brondello say? Well, during her first press conference, she talked about deep alignment and this unique vision. She said, "This is a place I wanted to be, to build a team from the ground up that really excited me. There's a lot of alignment, but in the end, it was about the partnership." She actually pointed to her connection with Toronto Tempo general manager Monica Wright Rogers, talking about their daily collaboration and just an undeniable right feeling. Now, that explanation sounds straightforward enough, but honestly, for anyone just looking at the money, it only made the mystery even deeper.
Apparently, a couple of other WNBA teams made offers to the coach, but she turned them down in order to start fresh with a new team. According to Front Office Sports, the Wings and the Storm also made offers to Brondello, with one of the teams offering more money than the Tempo ultimately did. Although those exact numbers won't be released, Brondello's reasoning to land in Toronto was partially due to how she bonded with the front office there. Quote, "This is a place I wanted to be," Brondello said during her introductory.
Look, her decision wasn't just about the money being offered, but the entire philosophy of the organization. Brondello really pushed the idea of partnership and collaboration. It felt like she wanted full control, a shared vision from the very top. And that's a big contrast to how things are with established franchises, right? Where a new coach might inherit all sorts of existing structures or even political headaches. So, her choice really showed a deep desire to build something completely fresh, without any of the baggage or expectations that come with a team that's been around for years. And that was true, no matter the immediate financial gain.
Look, there are bad organizations where you're like, you know what, yeah, this may not be the greatest organization in the world, but like, we're gonna win. And it's rare you see someone turn down a job like that to coach an expansion team, where you're not gonna win. This isn't the Vox. You don't, first of all, you don't benefit from a real expansion draft because everyone's a free agent. And the big thing when I say a real expansion draft is that you don't benefit from being a smart organization in a league of dumb organizations, because
what's crazy is a lot of WNBA watchers just couldn't make sense of Brondello's decision, especially with how big players like Caitlin Clark are getting. The general feeling was that a coach of Brondello's skill, someone who had publicly praised Clark, would obviously want to go somewhere she could work with such an amazing talent. So, the fact that the Fever, with Clark, couldn't get her, that just kept being a huge source of frustration and confusion. It felt like a massive strategic error in a league that's more and more about star power and marketability.
Dallas hired longtime USF women's basketball coach Jose Fernandez the day after the news dropped about Brondello heading to Toronto. The Storm just hired Sonia Raymond after they parted with Noelle Quinn in September. I think Quinn is coaching in Unrivaled, if I'm not going crazy. Wasn't she the coach that seemed like the Seattle Storm always had issues about players talking about some...
The ripple effect of Brondello turning them down was super quick. Dallas wasted no time at all, immediately hiring Jose Fernandez, the longtime USF coach, the very next day. Seattle was just as decisive, bringing in Sonja Raymond after they parted ways with Noelle Quinn back in September. These quick replacements really show how much demand there is for top-tier coaching in the WNBA. Teams just moved fast to fill those spots once Brondello's surprising choice became public, basically leaving them to scramble for their second or third options.
You don't benefit from being a smart organization in a league of dumb organizations, because like, everybody's a free agent, so teams are going to protect all their players. And it says here she will make at least $1 million in Toronto after rejecting offers from the Dallas Wings and the Seattle Storm. Sonia Brondello turned down more money from the Wings and the Storm to coach. She'll still be the highest paid coach in the W, and obviously would have been probably the highest paid coach in the W. And that's a kind of mad one. That is a kind of mad.
Listen, what's interesting is some of the chatter around Seattle's coaching situation hinted at deeper issues. Apparently, the previous coach, Noel Quinn, had problems with players, stuff about bullying or not being able to handle tough coaching. So, this context actually gives us more insight into Brondello's decision. Maybe she was actively looking for a place that was totally free from those kinds of internal conflicts and established player dynamics. She might have preferred building a culture entirely from scratch, where her coaching style could be implemented without any resistance. Basically, she wanted to avoid all that past team drama.
I think the Fever is going to look a lot different. And I don't know that a lot of us is going to love it, to be honest. I think there's a chance we may sit back and look and go, this is the team we got? Question mark? I'm a little concerned about it. Given the vast majority of the league's player pool is going to become free agents, it's extremely hard to predict how the free agency period will shake out and what the league's landscape will look like on the other side. But it seemed guaranteed that the Fever will come out looking great because of one key difference between them and every other.
Even though the Indiana Fever missed out on Brondello, they still have a massive advantage coming into free agency this winter. Think about their young core: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Timpson. All of them are under team control on rookie contracts all the way through. That gives the Fever unparalleled stability. This trio, especially Clark and Boston, are already seen as two of the best players in the league. So that makes Indiana a super attractive spot for any free agent who wants to play with budding superstars and contend. And really, it just makes Brondello's choice even more of a mystery.
I don't know. I really don't. And maybe she's thinking about that being like, look, there's no pressure on you to coach the Toronto Tempo. Like, you're at an expansion team. You've got 3 years. Realistically, you've got 3 years to get good. And if your deal is, say, a $1 million for 3 years, they're realistically, no expansion team is going to fire their coach for being bad in their first year. Like, I understand Natalie Nakase did it, but again, they benefited from the fact that teams like the Fever were dumbasses and let Temi go instead of.
Honestly, you can totally argue that Clark and Boston are already top 10 players in the WNBA. That's absolutely mind-blowing for players still on rookie contracts. The only other rookie contract player, even in that conversation, is Paige Bueckers from the Dallas Wings. This grouping of elite, cost-controlled talent puts the Fever in such a unique position, especially in a league where veteran contracts are becoming a huge deal. That star power, the whole Caitlin Clark effect, should, in theory, make Indiana the most desirable coaching spot out there. So, it just makes Brondello's decision feel even more counterintuitive.
The reason Indiana has a major edge heading into free agency period is that they have 3 players under team control with rookie contracts. These players are Michaela Timpson, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston. There's a case to be made that Clark and Boston are 2 of the top 10 players in the WNBA right now. Is Aaliyah Boston a top 10 player in the WNBA? The only player who still is on a rookie contract that could potentially be in the same conversation is Dallas Wings star rookie Paige Bueckers. Let me just look here.
And what's more, the WNBA free agency this winter is just wild right now. The old CBA is expiring, and pretty much every veteran player is about to become a free agent. So teams are facing totally unprecedented uncertainty. The entire player pool in the league is going to look completely different, making any kind of long-term planning a huge challenge. In this kind of environment, Brondello's choice to lead an expansion team instead of an established one becomes an even bolder gamble. She's basically preferring to navigate totally uncharted waters rather than dealing with a super unpredictable veteran market.
I'm in shock about the choice, if we're being completely honest. I'm in shock that this has happened. But like, hope her team makes the playoffs next season. They won't. They absolutely won't. But we have seen her turn down the Dallas Wings. And this is one of those jobs that I think a lot of people thought that the Wings was this like comparable job to last year's Fever team.
Now, one potential reason for Brondello's choice could simply be the allure of reduced pressure. Coaching an expansion team, especially in its first few years, gives you this really unique grace period. I mean, no expansion team is going to fire their coach for being bad in their very first year. As one analyst pointed out, it realistically gives her 3 years to build something without the immediate scrutiny or sky-high expectations of a championship contender. This kind of environment offers stability and patience, which is a huge difference compared to the win-now demands of teams like Dallas or Seattle, where every season feels like a referendum.
Now watching the response and the treatment that Sophie Cunningham is receiving from some fans, I don't know if they were old Indiana Fever fans. Some people were saying, nah, it's actually like Angel Reese fans and old WNBA fans. I don't know. But we talked about all the great things that players could benefit from by coming to play around Caitlin Clark, and then when they do it, oh, that's a problem. Well, wait a minute. This ain't Burger King. You don't get to have it your way. You don't get to have it.
Plus, there's been a lot of criticism about past expansion teams in the WNBA and some of their, let's just say, less than smart organizational choices. Teams have made some really questionable decisions when it comes to protecting players and building rosters. So, by starting totally fresh with Toronto, Brondello gets the chance to build a smart, cohesive organization from the ground up. She's free from all those inherited mistakes or poor strategic decisions that have plagued other franchises. This focus on foundational integrity, rather than just immediate star power or existing rosters, really highlights her long-term vision.
It's one of those things, but it is still an interesting thing with the Wings, because you would think having the opportunity to coach Malonga or coach Paige would absolutely be a more lucrative job than this. Clearly not. But yeah, it's a really interesting one there, and I wonder how much.
So, the sheer amount of money she said no to, potentially over $1 million, and to not coach a generational talent like Paige Buckers, that just struck so many people as absolute madness. One analyst put it perfectly, saying, she turned down $1 million. That is kind of crazy. That is really crazy, because that is money. That's serious money. This kind of unprecedented financial sacrifice for a coaching job left so many people just disbelieving, totally struggling to understand a decision that seemed to go against all conventional career wisdom in pro sports.
Anyway, the team is going to look a lot different. I made my predictions. I thought Sophie would come back for sure. I'm not so sure now. In fact, I'm leaning a little unlikely, although I do believe when players make statements like she made the other day, it's a negotiating tactic. You see this in other sports all the time. I don't think a lot of WNBA fans are used to seeing it because a lot of them doesn't watch NFL and MLB and whatever, but players will make comments because it puts some pressure.
Now, it's important to remember this. Even the Toronto offer, while less than the highest one she rejected, still makes Brondello the highest paid coach in the entire WNBA. That's a crucial fact. She still landed a really lucrative deal, which totally shows her value, but she clearly prioritized other, non-monetary factors. So it wasn't a choice between being rich or being broke. It was a choice between maximum wealth at one organization versus significant wealth and a very specific vision at another. This nuance really suggests that a deeper professional fulfillment was at play here, way beyond just the bottom line.
It's like freaking rent control for teams. Like, you've got these unbelievable contracts. The Fever did a great. I'm so happy the Indiana Fever, led a fucking, just traded their pick for a year rental of Sophie Cunningham. They're not going to keep her even after she hooped. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? And as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
So, building an expansion team under this new uncertain CBA, that makes everything even more complicated. With almost every player becoming a free agent, the usual advantages of an expansion draft are kind of watered down. Biggest teams will protect their absolute key assets. This means Brondello and the Tempo will have to be incredibly smart about attracting free agents and making strategic picks. It's a super challenging path, but it does give Brondello complete autonomy over all personnel decisions. She can truly shape the roster exactly how she sees it. Plus, connecting this back to the wider WNBA environment, the current player dynamics around Caitlin Clark really show some potential pitfalls. Think about how fans have treated players like Sophie Cunningham, or even the speculation about Kelsey Mitchell potentially leaving Indiana. It all suggests that playing alongside Clark brings some really unique pressures and intense scrutiny. So, Brondello's decision to build from scratch, away from that immediate spotlight and away from the pre-existing player personalities of established teams, might be a very intentional move to just avoid all that complex and potentially turbulent internal team politics. Ultimately, Sandy Brondello turning down a record-breaking $1 million+ offer and the chance to coach a generational talent like Paige Bueckers just speaks volumes about what's really important in the WNBA now. Her explanation isn't just about Caitlin Clark herself, but the bigger impact Clark has on how teams are built, on fan expectations, and on the pressure coaches face. Brondello chose partnership, a blank slate, and maybe even a little less immediate pressure over an unprecedented financial gain and coaching a generational talent. It's a bold, almost unbelievable move that really redefines what success means for WNBA coaches, showing there's a much deeper game being played behind the scenes, far beyond just the money or the immediate spotlight.